Okay, I'm going to share with you a secret. Perhaps the most common error that even the most sophisticated negotiators make when they negotiate is they fail to set up a winning process. So if you're satisfied leaving a negotiation table, dissatisfied, or feeling like you didn't quite get to what you want, okay, stop watching. But if you want to make sure all of your interests are met and you've gotten maximum volume, then stay tuned. Because today, I'm going to share with you what I mean by process, why it matters, and then 5 tips on how to negotiate the best possible process. I'm Bob Bordone. I'm a senior fellow at Harvard Law School. I'm the founder and former director of Harvard Law School's Negotiation and Mediation clinical program. I taught negotiation, conflict resolution, mediation, and many other courses at Harvard Law School for more than 2 decades, and I'm a founder and principal of the Cambridge Negotiation Institute. First, what do I mean by process? So process is different from substance. Substance in negotiation is the deal terms, like what is my salary, what is the price point, what are the covenants, what are the warranties, what are the tariffs, etc., etc., etc. Process is the how of how you negotiate. In other words, process is the agenda setting. What do we talk about first, second, or third? And here's what we know. Process in negotiation will drive results. So let me give you a real, if somewhat dated example. Think about the 2016 presidential election. So Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. At the end of that election, Hillary Clinton has 3 million more votes than Donald Trump. But who is the president of the United States? Donald Trump. Is that because he stole the election? No, he did not. It is because the process was basically not who got the most votes, but who won the most electoral votes. Process drive results. If the process was who got the most votes, Hillary Clinton would have won the 2016 election. The process of an election is similar to the process of a negotiation. The rules actually will drive the results. Here's the challenge. Many negotiations don't have any process. The way it works is someone puts forward an offer and then someone responds with a counteroffer. And then what follows next is haggling. That kind of process almost always yields results that are dissatisfying to both sides. And to the degree it works for one side, it's simply because they had more power. And even for that side, usually there's less value claimed than was available. So, here are the 5 tips for how you can negotiate a process that yields you the results you want and that allows you to create as much possible value in that negotiation. Step number 1. Before exchanging any offers or any counteroffers, simply spend the time working with your counterparty to identify all of the issues that need to be negotiated. Secondly, once you've agreed upon those issues, set up some time where you're discussing what each of your interests are with respect to each of the issues. So here I want to give some advice around the difference between a position and an interest in a negotiation. In a negotiation, a position is what I say I want, but the interest is actually the underlying reason why, the underlying concern or goal or desire that I have. And so when we're spending this time discussing our interests, what we should not be talking about is the positions. And this part of the process, I actually want to publicly map out both sides' interests with respect to all of the issues. So let me share with you an example in a consulting project that I've been involved with. In this particular negotiation, there are about 80 parties involved. And all of the parties have come together, they have identified the issues that need to be negotiated, and in a multi-month process, they have also listed out all of their interests with respect to these issues. Meaning that we have developed an Excel spreadsheet with more than 250 issues across 80 parties around the issues we're discussing. Now, most of your negotiations aren't going to be quite this complicated, But having this part of the process is really important because once we have the interests out, this allows us to move to the next part of the process, which is brainstorming options to meet the interests. So in this third stage, what we're doing is looking at the interests and brainstorming various ways that we can meet the interests completely separated from commitment, from whether we might agree to them, from whether we think the idea is a good one or not a good one. So during this stage of the process, we're removing evaluation, we're removing any kind of attribution, we're just brainstorming. In fact, in a long and complicated negotiation, during the brainstorming phase, if it's possible, I might actually send in people who don't have decision-making authority. And the reason why that's really helpful is they're actually better at brainstorming because no one believes that anyone who comes up with an idea who clearly has no authority in the organization can actually do that idea. For more simple negotiations, it's simply helpful to say, let's take the next 20 minutes and let's just come up with lots of ideas that are meeting the interests we've articulated. The fourth step, once we have all of these options, we obviously have to choose among them. And that's when I want to identify criteria or standards of legitimacy to help us choose which of the options is most appropriate. So when I say criteria or standards of legitimacy, what am I talking about here? What I'm suggesting is that we want to look to some third-party standard to help us decide what the correct or better or most fair and appropriate option might be. And the reason why this matters is that if we're committed to criteria, first of all, it helps us build up our relationship and our ability to actually negotiate with each other over time because we're making a distributive decision not based on leverage, but based on external standards. Secondly, it takes away the danger of an arbitrary outcome. If we are not hinged to criteria, it actually makes us very susceptible to something called an anchoring bias. So what is an anchoring bias? An anchoring bias is the tendency for us to land on an outcome that is linked to the first proposal that has been put out, even if it is not related to anything that is fair or appropriate in the market. So in this fourth step, by identifying criteria and agreeing to it, it helps us understand which of the options are actually linked to something that is sustainable and defensible. The last step of the process is what we call closing the deal or commitment. And so once we've identified these options and we've chosen the criteria, we now actually have to close the deal. So this means making commitments around the substance and, when appropriate, either writing them up or getting permission for them or signing the deal. And when I talk about implementation, this is another step that is often completely forgotten or not negotiated. But typically, in most deals, everything is enclosed the moment you sign it. There are a set of implementation steps. And so making sure you've agreed upon the when, the how, and the who of the implementation is incredibly important. At the end of the day, really great negotiators simply don't plunge in and start making offers and counteroffers. Instead, they understand that negotiating the process will make the difference between whether they get a deal that deeply meets their interests, that's sustainable, that's creative, and that's based on fair criteria. So I'm really curious if you've been involved in negotiations that have had creative or thoughtful processes. What are they? Share some of them in the comments below. So for more tips on how to improve as a negotiator, watch this next video, The Art of Persuasion for Professional Success. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and ring the bell so you continue to get new lessons on negotiation, communication, and good process. Okay, it's not difficult to keep watching. Click, click.